Good morning. This tarot is coming to you from outside of my home. You can see my candles are lit inside a safe little container there. And I'm doing tarot a little differently today. I am outside. I was drawn to do this morning before I pulled cards, but of course the cards have lined up with my choices to do my morning completely different. So if you watch live, you don't need to watch the YouTube video. It's completely the same message, just maybe told in a little bit different way. I can't post them the same this week due to a wellness expo we're doing. So trust your gut. I trusted that I needed to get outside and do my routine a little bit different today. And did I fight it a little bit? You bet. I didn't necessarily want to get in my jammies, and I am not an Alberta girl at heart. I've been here my whole life, but it's too cold. I'm not a real snow person. So what do you do when changes come and they're not comfortable? Your body is telling you, hey, you need to go out and commune with your trees. And your heart's like, but my trees are dying and they're sick and I don't necessarily want to spend time under them this year. Yeah, no, go outside and do that. Or it's cold. I don't necessarily want to do that. So trust, I call that a lot like walking tarot. Something's pulling you. So then go outside and see what happens. You can pull a card before you go outside. Don't suggest taking your cards out in the snow. I did because I'm doing this, but you could pull a card before and see what messages come, or if you know your cards well enough, just go outside and see if a message comes, or it doesn't even have to be about cards. You can call it walking tarot and just see what wisdom comes. But today, because I am pulling for you guys, it's an 8 of Cups day. So it's a heart day. And it's everything's kind of lined up, and now you're going to do things a little different day. So what does that look like for you? Like for me today, I'm doing this outside. I felt called to do it and was like, that's a bit strange to go sit under my trees. I made my coffee in my Go Cup, and I'm like, I should put a little cocoa in that today. I never put cocoa in my coffee. So what if I don't like it? Then I'll reassess. But it's just something different. Let's try. I haven't even tried the cocoa in my coffee. So do you get where I'm coming from in this? That everything's a little different? Let's try. Well, it's not quite as delicious as I thought it would be. I prefer it without. But changes. Does that make sense? So that's what this cup is on top. So this is where you really have to look at the artwork of the deck you're using. So often 8 of Cups is represented by someone walking into a new path. So your heart's leading you somewhere else. I really love the imagery of this one today, that as you choose to do things different, it might not all go smoothly. It might not flow perfectly. Like as I was lighting those candles, my fingers were too cold to do the lighter. So I had to go in and get the matches, and my phone fell in the snow, and just those little things that are enough for you to go, yeah, I'm not putting any changes in my life. I'm going to stay in my jammies and be in my warm house and go in my office, and that's the right way to do it. Or do you use this helper? This beautiful Queen of Swords. Can you see the clarity in her eyes? And she's got her sword, and she knows that she's going to trust those thoughts that are true. So I'm going to use myself as an example today. So I'm trusting that I know my thoughts and my intuition guide me to come outside and shift things up today. Did it all go smoothly? No. Was it the end of the world? Absolutely not. But things are shifting. Things are shifting in the world where I live, and most likely where anyone lives right now, but we're getting stronger rules right now because the pandemic is flaring up. Obviously, there's more cases, and everyone's a little bit scared, and the government's trying to do things, right? And this is not a political discussion. So wherever you are on that, things are happening, things are changing, whether we like it or not. So clarity. So as your heart's changing, be ready for shifts. So for instance, we've been talking a lot about creativity. So you're like, yeah, I haven't really listened this week, or I've done a few things, but today I was guided to paint that really big canvas I have, which is scary for me because a big canvas feels like a commitment. And then the first stroke you do is not the color you meant to pull. Do you stop? Maybe if you were just sitting in 8 of Cups, because it feels uncomfortable. But if you can come back to this Queen of Swords, you can be like, no, 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 no. It's okay. I can cover that up with some more paint. I can Bob Ross it. But the clarity is that this is where I need to be. And then what we're not going to focus on today is the Seven of Pentacles. Seven of Pentacles in its own right is great. You start looking at all the things you've done and you take stock. That's not what we're doing today when we're in heart space. The last thing we want to do is start making a list of the things we've done right and the things we've done wrong, and really get into this action mind state. If we're staying in the creative energy this week, even with the news we've been getting around the world and in our own places of where we live, we want to step into something a little different. We need that clarity. We're not going to start doing this. This can move into judgment as we're trying to do that. And then I did pull the helper for us. And it is a doorway. And I love doorways. Lots of times when you go through changes, it's a new doorway. If you're going through a big change, maybe I'll do a post on this one day. It's really great to do a ceremony around it, and you can even involve a doorway or an imaginary doorway into that. It's a threshold. We're crossing a threshold. So today's a mini threshold as we're stepping into a little bit of a different heart healing. So can you see that doorway? It's like we're coming out of the darkness into the light. It's a very beautiful visual. Does this whole journey happen to happen one day? If we take this as a very small one, right? Like that we're going to shift, like I said with the painting. If today is Eight of Cups is the start of a journey to shift things, like for me, am I going to come out and walk every day? Probably not making it all the way out, but my heart is starting to heal. My ideas are healing. So I'm shifting. So this is a heart healing card. Don't pay attention as much to how you're mourning, and of course you've left that behind. It's time to embrace your healing heart. I'm not saying bypass all the grief, but it's time to emerge from that. There comes a time to not grieve so much and step into the light, and so this is what that's about. We're going to take it really lightly for today. Just emerge out of all the chaos that could happen when you're trying to change things and shift your heart. Have a beautiful day. Hope that helps. May your Eight of Cups day have a little toppling that still motivates you to move forward because you're sitting in your Queen of Swords. Abundant blessings to everyone.